Okay, so he was there first, correct?
Not in that position, Mr. Hanel. Every time he gets an opportunity to come within 5 feet of me, Mr. Hanel.
Was he there? Can you answer the
Mr.
question?
Hanel, can I
Was he there
briefly
first?
answer your question, sir?
The time and date set for, I believe we're in a continuation of the trial. Did I kick off testimony last time? Well, I'll let counsel inform me after they put their appearances on the record. So as an initial matter, counsel, will you place your appearances on the record? We can start with Mr. Van den Heuvel.
This is Attorney Justin Van Heuvel Law, if on behalf of the petitioner, Kaitlin, in this matter, and it is my P number 79011.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Hanel.
Thank you. Steve Hanel on behalf of Mr. Buffum. Your Honor, I think what happened last time, we have, I guess, two matters now. Last time, we were just waiting on a sentencing on the first matter. He entered a plea on the first PPO violation from last year, stuff from last year, I think. They filed another show cause, but I hadn't been appointed yet, so we set that out on that matter, and we haven't done anything on that yet.
Got it. So we have you appointed now, and we're here at least on a second show cause. Perhaps for me to make a determination at trial of the additional two violations.
Correct, Your Honor. So to put it in, the opposing counsel, what he's saying is there was a plea on the first violation, and we are going to sentencing, and then I filed two additional motions to show cause on additional violations stemming from February 22 of 2024, and then a follow-up on February. Hold on here, I'm pulling the exact date so I have it. And then again on February 24 of 2024.
Okay, very good. Well, my intention then today is I will conduct the order to show cause, and then we can immediately conduct, as long as the attorneys are okay with that, the factual trial on the additional violations, and then I can sentence on them all at once, which seems to make the most sense to me. Any objections?
No,
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense to me as well, Your Honor. I'm just making sure I have everything that they've filed here. Did you see you filed two separate show causes?
There were two separate show causes. There was a show cause for the 22nd and the 24th of February.
Were they filed at the same time?
Yes, thereabouts.
Thereabouts, or I'm just wondering if I was appointed.
And I can look at the proof of service if you're asking. I guess
I'm wondering if I was appointed to both. Question.
You might have only been appointed to one. I don't know. I don't know your appointment, but there was a proof of service on March 1 for the second one. Sorry, I'm pulling my paperwork as we speak. And then there was a proof of service. Give me a second here for the 19th. And then there was a proof of service on March 1st again for the second, and both were filed on the same day, March 1, concerning the 22nd and the 24th of February of this year.
Okay.
And just for your information, Mr. Hanel, I'll be happy to appoint you on the other violation purely for efficiency's sake here. I think obviously since you've been on the case thus far, it makes imminent sense, from an economic and practical standpoint to appoint you again. So that would be my intention. Of course, it also is important that you have a copy of the violation to look at. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm just making sure I have everything here. I thought there was one matter, but I might have that. We've been here so many times. I know I've looked at this stuff a lot. Okay, I believe I'm ready to proceed, though.
Okay, very good. Well, first, let me advise Mr. Buffum of your rights. Since it is an order to show cause, Mr. Buffum, if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Mr. Buffum, you understand, if I find you guilty of violating my protective order, I can give you up to 93 days in jail per violation and or a fine of up to $500 per violation. You understand that? Do you understand that, Mr. Buffum?
Yes, sir.
And further, and obviously you're exercising your right to a trial today, you do have the right to an evidentiary hearing. Before I find you and right to be represented by counsel as you're here with Mr. Hanel today. So you understand that as well?
Yes.
Very well. You wish to enter and continue with a plea of not guilty as to the two violations at this time.
Correct, Your Honor.
Very good. All right. Well, let's proceed with the fact finding on the matter. Mr. Vandenheuvel, I'll allow you to lead off.
Yeah, no problem here, Your Honor. I'm going to start with the violation that was first February, or the alleged violation of February 22, 2024. I can pull that up. I assume the court has a copy. Mr. Hanel, do you have a copy or must I show it on the screen?
I'm looking. I do have a copy. I do have a copy of each of them. Is this the trying to figure out which one is which?
2/22/24.
Pre-22-24? Wait, never mind.
The violation is to occur on 2/22/24.
Is this the one that involves the picture of him in front of the men's restroom?
No, that's a prior case. This is for the, it shows a picture of him standing in the middle of the, an auction. There's a color picture standing up. Yeah, the men's restroom sign is there.
Okay. Yep.
We're on the same page?
Yes, we're on the same page.
Yeah. That's, and we'll talk about where that is. Okay. Your Honor, I would call Kaitlin Schuette, to the stand to testify in this matter.
Very well. Ms. Schuette, would you raise your right hand?
Yes, Your
Do
Honor.
you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Vandenheuvel.
Kaitlin, obviously you signed an affidavit in motion to show cause. Can you tell me what you recollect from February 22 of 2024?
This is the middle of the auction, correct?
Correct.
Yes, I can remember. I can recall that day clear as day, Your Honor. This is the ice house one. Okay. I was walking in with my mother, Kathy Schuette, who I'd like to also have as.
That's just testify to what you know.
Oh, what I know. Okay. And I had turned around and Mr. Buffum had proceeded to see me, did not leave, stood there for at least a good 20-25 minutes, Your Honor, speaking about me, making laughing assumptions about me with other members that were around. And I couldn't see much of it after the fact because I had turned my back because I was so scared and so disgusted with Mr. Buffum at that point that I was thinking, you know, I've given you many warnings, Mr. Buffum, in other incidences where you continue to stand where I'm at and you don't leave. And I mean, Your Honor, I'm appalled that he would not leave and he's standing there making fun of me. And
Kaitlin, would you say that was an attempt to engage you?
yes,
What kind of things were said?
I could overhear talking and muttering in the back, so I couldn't quite hear everything, but I know I heard my name several times.
Okay. Do you believe that the, how far was he from you approximately?
Maybe not even 10 feet,
Okay. So you could see him clearly.
very clearly.
Okay. Did you take a picture that day?
I did hear.
Okay. And did you attach that picture to your motion in order to show cause?
I did.
Okay. And I'm going to point the court to the attachment to the statutory motion in order to show cause. This is a picture that you attached.
That is Mr. Buffum.
Can you describe this picture for us?
This is exactly with him standing there talking with a bunch of members. I know that the equipment manager for the Grand Rapids Griffins, he's not in this picture, but I know that he was speaking about me to him to see if he could, telling everybody he had the PPO, when in fact, Your Honor, as everybody's overlooked, I'm the victim here. I am the one that should be, not scared where I'm located. And Mr. Buffum thinks that he has the PPO, but that's Mr. Buffum. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, so just describe what you're showing me here. You can't just point, you have to describe it because it's an audio record.
That's Mr. Buffum's.
Somebody is kneeling
Mhm.
Okay, describe it more to me.
Mr. Buffum's standing there talking with others about me. I can,
Is he wearing?
he's wearing a black jacket, Grand Rapids Griffin's jersey, black pants, black and red Griffin's hat, and those are his glasses. And he's got brown hair and a beard.
Okay. And this is what's going on at this time.
At this point, he is still standing there talking about me and hasn't left, and that's probably, he stood in that position for at least 20 to 25 minutes after he had saw me too.
Okay, and you took the picture from where you were standing?
Yes,
Okay, and this was the approximate distance of?
yes,
Of,
of Mr. Buffum,
okay, at what distance?
5 to 10 feet.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd move for entry of that exhibit. It's the picture of Mr. Buffum, within 10 feet of my client.
No objection.
Very well, the exhibit may be entered, and I will mark it exhibit, petitioner's exhibit number 1 for this hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Kaitlin, we talked about, you have a valid PPO, is that correct?
I do.
And it was signed what date?
6/14 of 23.
And was it extended?
It was
On what date?
12/5 of 23.
Okay, and in that order, does it give specific terms about the conduct of respondent in terms of how close he may be to you?
I
Okay.
believe so.
And he was obviously, and I'm looking, you feel uncomfortable and unsafe.
I do.
What brings you to that feeling?
Him and all of the priors that he's done, he's made me feel really uneasy. I'm gonna go back to the date of June 7th, when it all started, when he chased me down the highway, and was behind me and almost ran me into the retaining wall.
So you have what would say an objection, you have a fear because of this?
Yes,
Con-
very big fear. And it's just, he's been violent towards me and everything. I would feel like, he's
Yes.
spoken about me. He's made threats, especially to my friend Cindy French, that I want to bring up.
Okay, but what, has there been any other contact between you since this date of 5, what date?
I believe so.
Yeah, so
Yep,
what,
the
the
whatnot.
date, you gotta, we're on an audio recording, so you have to speak.
Oh.
And not just say, or point. So since this date that this incident occurred, can you say that date?
February 22nd, 2024.
Okay, and you've had other contacts since then?
Yes.
Okay, where?
Whatnot, he was again on Whatnot as of even Wednesday, this past Wednesday, as of 5/15/24.
Okay, and hanging out, I mean, what does whatnot mean? Explain this to me.
So Whatnot's where I have also had my,
Object to relevance, Your Honor. I don't think this whatnot stuff has anything to do with these violations that have been filed.
Your Honor. so-
My recollection is that we've had prior testimony about, kind of postings on what I believe was Whatnot, if it's the baseball card sales site or sports card sales site. I'll overrule the objection. It could potentially be relevant. If you'd please connect that up for me, Mr. Van Hubel.
I will. Your Honor, we are moving for this and the testimony will show here that there is a continued pattern. This court has already talked about not having contact in digital forums or otherwise. We now have in personal forum and digital forum continuing. And so my point of bringing this conduct up is that it is a continuing pattern of conduct.
All right, go ahead. You may proceed.
So on 5/15/24, you had you just testified that was the time you last, and I should be clear for the record, 2024. You had contact, he had contact with you through that.
I saw him in the room. He had saw me join that room and he did not leave. He proceeded to sit in the Whatnot room where I have a business of selling cards and continue to do that.
So you were selling cards and he was,
I wasn't selling my cards, but I was in the room about to purchase cards for my business. And
Okay.
he had saw me in there.
and continued to post in that chat. We'll
Yeah.
say in that forum.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about, has there been any other, I'm going to move forward to, you had other violations, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and I'm gonna move forward to a new date. We filed one. I remember here, you signed an affidavit of motion. What date did you have more contact with Mr. Buffum?
February of 2024.
Okay, and on that date, what happened?
I was sitting there and in a Jersey auction waiting for Mr. Valdir, who was
Okay.
not in the room. Waiting for him at the top of the stairs where Mr. Buffum proceeded to sit all but maybe 10 feet from me again, sitting down there at the bottom talking with his friends, and look back several times trying to intimidate me, to the point that his own father had stood up to take pictures of me and had even yelled out that his son has a PPO, not me, and is actually, it's the other way around, to get me kicked out of the Andel Arena and to get me removed.
So you were actually approached then by staff saying that you.
I was, correct. And I
so
had to stand
You
up.
didn't direct that staff.
No, I did not.
You know, you saw. So explain how far away you were from this gentleman.
Probably 10 feet.
Okay, and so sitting in seats, or I mean in a
I was sitting in a seat from, are you asking about his father or are you asking about him?
father.
His father, 5 feet.
Okay, and you then saw or heard the request?
Yes, it was very loud. It was, in fact, loud enough to all the people in the arena had actually heard it in that auction.
So you had personal knowledge of this attempt to have contact.
Yes.
Okay, and then what happened?
Then he had went down the stairs. The security had went down the stairs. The guy that was running from the Griffins to speak to Bachelor to try to see what was going on, who had the PPO and what had happened.
So we're not trying to testify for him. That's your belief of what happened. He went to go try to figure out.
Yes.
So you're not saying that that's the truth of the matter. You just believe that he went to go try to figure out what happened.
It made me believe that because he had then came back up the stairs. The Griffin staff member had came back up the stairs to ask me more questions about what was going on.
Okay, and that's how you knew for sure that there had been an attempt to contact you.
Yes.
Okay. Did they at any time look and point at you?
Yes, several times.
Okay, and you attached an image to this amended motion to show cause for violation of personal protection order for the date of 2/24/24. Okay, and let's look at those images. The first one has a label on it. Can you read that for me?
That's Paul Buffum, respondent's father.
And you believe he's holding what?
A camera. I know that he was taking pictures of me because he kept making the motion of taking pictures.
Okay, and then there's some more in this series, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's this?
That's Mr. Buffum standing no further than 5 to 10 feet from me.
Okay, and
he did this every Jersey action, as a matter of fact.
okay, so he regularly in your presence
Yes.
within 10 feet.
And it made himself well known as well. Him and his friends made themselves well known.
How?
They would stand, they would point at me, they would laugh at me, they would make me feel intimidated. They would try to make me leave any area in which they were in because they thought that they were large in charge.
So like that first picture here?
Yes, he's doing that to try and make me feel intimidated so I would leave.
That first picture is he.
That's Paul Buffum.
Oh,
That's
we
the
have-
defendant's, or that's
Yeah.
his father,
and you labeled that. And the second picture is,
Michael Buffum.
okay. And then we're gonna go to the next one in the series.
That's Michael Buffum again.
We're talking about the third picture, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he's wearing,
Black hat, black coat,
Okay.
black pants like he always does.
okay. And then you've got a fourth picture again,
Yep, that's Mr. Buffum as well.
okay? And what is he doing?
Sitting there talking to people, trying to get them to make me leave
Oh, okay.
and to make me feel intimidated. Because he pointed and laughed at me several times.
All right. Your Honor, I move for entry of these images.
Any objection to the images, Mr. Hanel?
No objection, Your Honor.
They may be admitted and correspondingly numbered. I think we're to maybe 2 through 7.
Yeah, we are, it should be exhibit 2 because there's all one set of pictures, Your Honor, but if you
Okay,
want to do 7, that's fine too.
yeah, that's fine. Let's just keep those together and make them a group exhibit number 2.
Appreciate it. And So this isn't the only contact he's had with you, right? He's directed his mother at
That's
some
correct.
point. And what do you know about that?
I know that his mother went as far as contacting Matt Bachelor, regarding to find out if I was kicked out from the Griffins and if I was in fact removed from the Van Andel Arena on his behalf.
And how do you know this?
Matt Bachelor had sent an email to my mother and then I saw that.
Objection to hearsay.
And obviously I have.
Let me get the response on the objection to hearsay.
I'm putting foundational evidence in for the admission of this email. I need to quickly scan this and put it up on our screen here to review, but there is an exhibit that my client brought in today, a copy of that email between Laura Buffum and Matt Bachelor. So I'm laying the foundation for it to be entered. It's written communication directed by, we believe, obviously the testimony suggests it's directed on behalf of Mr. Buffum. It's in a statement then against party opponent.
Well, it would be a statement of the party opponent by, you're saying, relayed by Mr. Bachelor?
Correct.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and lay the rest of the foundation?
So you're reading this email. Do you mind reading, go ahead and read this email for me. What does it say?
Absolutely. This was not anyone from the Griffins. That is why I asked you if it was true. I think it was a bunch of rumors. Sorry about bothering you about all this drama sent from my iPhone.
Okay. And the person it was to was?
Matt Bachelor.
And the person it was from?
Laura Buffum.
Okay. And so this email makes you believe that the respondent in this matter was trying to have direct contact regarding you.
Yes.
And regarding you being kicked out.
Yes.
And you believe that. Can you establish that foundation for me? Why? Let's connect these dots. At the last hearing, was it what do you recall of that last hearing regarding this issue? We all were together.
Yep. I didn't even know that I had been removed from the from the Griffins at that point. And then all of a sudden this shot through the tubes without me even knowing.
And you weren't actually removed.
No, I was not.
No. So this is in response to, obviously, and do you know who Laura Buffum is?
I do.
And how do you know that?
I know Laura Buffum's his mother because I had met her once.
Okay. So it's your belief that this is directed.
Yes.
On behalf of?
On behalf of Mr. Buffum.
Okay.
Can we see a copy of that email?
Yeah, I'm going to run it through the scanner. Just give me a second here. I'll pop that up if we could take a short break. I just got it today, which is why I don't have it scanned yet. Let me get it.
All right, go ahead and scan it. And then if you'd email it to Mr. Hanel, I'll take Mr. Hanel's objections, if any. And if I allow it, then you can display it on the screen. If not, we'll proceed from there.
Sounds good. Give me just a quick moment. It won't take me very long.
We are on the record, Judge.
Very good. All right, back on the record in the matter of Schuette versus Buffum. Go ahead and lay that foundation that you were started on, Mr. Van Hubel.
Yes. So Kaitlin talked about that email, and we talked about your belief of where it came from. How did you come in possession of that email?
Matt Bachelor had given it to my mother, who's a season ticket member, and my mother had brought it to my attention.
Okay, so we'll call your mother for foundation of actual possession and chain of title. I want to shift.
I'm not worried about possession or chain of title. I won't object to that.
Okay. At this point, I can't move until you guys have a copy, so I'll move forward on my additional testimony. I have an image of the original PPO here. I have a PDF, and the court has this in their file from the initial order. It was an order, and we talked about the dates of these orders. Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and it says it is ordered that on page 1, line 5.
Yes.
What are some of the things that it is ordered not to do?
Following or appearing within sight of the petitioner, appearing at my work or residence, approaching or confronting the petitioner in a public place or private property, sending mail or other communications to the petitioner, contacting the Petitioner by telephone.
Okay. And has any of this happened to you?
Yes,
And you believe why?
because I honestly don't. I fully believe that Mr. Buffum thinks this is just a joke, and that nobody will ever do anything to him for that, and that he continue to victimize me over and over and over again.
Objection. That's just subjective belief. She's here to testify on facts and things that happened.
Okay, I can lay a foundation for that belief. Miss Buffin, what brings you to the belief that you completely I'm sorry, Miss Schuette, what makes you believe that this is true? That you are going to be, so they've objected to your subjective belief. They're saying that you feel threatened.
Yes,
Why do you believe that is true?
I feel like this is true because of all the, all the violation after violation, the continuous contact, the continuous to have his friends reach out and do things such as, he had one friend I can remember back to this day, growing up his Griffin's game. He had a friend one of his friends sit above my head to listen to everything that I was saying with a set of my friends. Griffin's games, he would sit, he would point, he would laugh, he would, to the point I had to change my lifestyle completely around so that way I wasn't where he was at. And I shouldn't have to change my lifestyle for him. I'm the victim. He is not.
So he would turn around, you're saying?
He would turn around all the time and come near me. Every chance he would get and every opportunity in which he had, he would find a reason to violate. He
I'm going to object because this doesn't seem, we're getting outside of the scope of what these two violations are. We're on notice for specific things here, and now we're getting off into Never Land where we're not having specific instances. It's vague things that possibly could have already been dealt with or maybe haven't been filed yet, but I think we should stick to what we're here for.
I believe she's speaking of some of the other things that have happened, but specifically the pointing and looking, and we have pictures and images attached to the violation. That's, I believe, what she's describing.
Let's keep them. I think we should keep them to the violation and what we're talking about, not just
all right.
Whatever's coming.
Okay, well, and I will rule on it. I've noted the objection there is to relevance and, to some degree, a narrative response that's non-specific as to the particular incidents. I have heard specific testimony about these incidents and about pointing or perhaps overhearing your name used by the other person. And I would agree that testimony should be limited to the two specific incidents. And I have heard the testimony about pointing and looking in that direction and, perhaps at least speaking about the other person loudly enough to be overheard. So with that, that objection will be sustained. You may proceed, Mr. Van Heuvel.
Thank you. I would like to, we should have the images now of the two items that we've previously taken testimony on, the email and the sports website.
Okay, I have received those. Go ahead and continue with your foundation.
Okay. We've talked about this email between Bachelor and Laura Buffum.
Mhm.
At this time, do you believe this email with Laura Buffum, this is related to that time on, and I'm going to go back to 2/24/24. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay, and it relates to the images that we proposed as Exhibit 2, correct?
Yes.
The pointing,
Yes.
okay? And what brings you to that belief?
The factor that they kept telling everyone that they wanted me out of there, him included.
So there
Him
was
being
family
Michael.
present that day.
Yes.
Okay. I move for entry of that email between Laura Buffum and Matt Bachelor.
Objection, Mr. Hanel.
You sent me the email, is that right?
Yes.
Give me just a second here. I mean, I'm looking at this email. I don't see how anything indicates it was directed by him. I can very much see how a family member would. I mean, they're concerned about him getting in more trouble. I can see why they would be asking about this kind of thing, but it doesn't look like it. I just object, I guess. It's
All
hearsay.
right. Well, there's been an objection to the email. As to its relevance, I would take it. It is quite nonspecific as to what it's referring to within the email. However, I do believe that there are tidbits of relevance in there, in that there has been testimony today about the engagement of Mr. Buffum's family members, and that, they may be acting as extensions or trying to communicate with Ms. Schuette as proxies or substitutes for Mr. Buffum, knowing that he can't do it. And, frankly, it kind of makes sense in a feud like this one that family members often do take sides. And so I will admit the email at this time as an exhibit for the limited purpose of establishing the context of the ongoing conflict between the parties, and the fact that it has, at least at this case, appears to have engaged Mr. Buffum's mother in the conversation, along with Mr. Bachelor, who it seems undisputed is a manager at the Van Andel Arena where the Griffins play hockey. So all that being said, it may be admitted for that limited purpose. You may proceed, Mr. Van Heuvel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Kaitlin, we've obviously looked at this exhibit together. We've talked about it, about sports card. Remind me of the website.
Whatnot?
Okay. And what date did this happen?
5/15. So this past Wednesday.
And you're moving to, we're looking at this because of,
I have a card business myself and was going to purchase from this seller.
is this a continuing pattern of contact?
It is.
Okay. And it started on 2/24.
It has.
And have you seen any stopping to this contact?
I have not.
Okay. I move for entry of this exhibit of the Whatnot forum for shopping.
Mr. Hanley, your response.
Just a moment, Your Honor. I guess I don't object, Your Honor.
Okay, then it may be admitted. I think we are to exhibit 4 now, since we treated the one group of photos as 2. Let's mark this as exhibit 4. You may proceed, Mr. Van Heuvel.
Agreed, Your Honor. I am done with direct examination of my client, obviously, indirect, sorry. And I would, and I have another witness to call.
Very good. Let me give Mr. Hanel an opportunity for cross-examination.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start back at the beginning. I think we were here first on. We're looking at what I believe is Exhibit 1. You see a picture where it's got the men's restroom in the background. His back is to you. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And your testimony that he stood there for about 20 minutes like that in that
20
position.
20 to 25 minutes, Mr. Hanel.
Where was this at?
It was at the Griff's Ice House, Mr. Hanel.
Okay, so he was standing there and you got within 10 feet of him. He didn't come to you, right?
That is incorrect, Mr. Hanel.
Well, you said he stood in that position for 20 minutes. Why were you within 10 feet of him? Did he come and stand next to you, see you, and turn like that?
Can you repeat your question?
So you're to his back. He's not facing you, correct?
He was facing to me at one point. He had saw me come in that door and he proceeded to stand there and stare at me.
Okay, so he was there first, correct?
Not in that position, Mr. Hanel. Every time he gets an opportunity to come within 5 feet of me, Mr. Hanel.
Was he there? Can you answer the
Mr.
question?
Hanel, can I
Was he there
please
first?
answer your question, sir?
Was he there first?
Hang on just a sec. This is cross-examination. You will have, Mr. Van Heuvel will have an opportunity to redirect to allow you to clarify your answers. But if Mr. Hanel's question does call just for a yes or no answer, you should respond with a yes or no, and then Mr. Van Heuvel will have the opportunity to redirect and clarify those questions. That's just the way that cross-examination needs to work. With that, you may proceed, Mr. Hanel.
Thank you. So he was there first, correct?
No.
So you just testified a second ago that you walked in the door and he
Yes,
saw
I'm
you.
sorry. Yes, I didn't understand your question.
Okay, so he was there first, correct?
Yes.
So he may not have been in the position, but was that where he was standing?
Can you repeat?
Was that where he was standing in the room? Does this picture depict where he was the whole time?
Yes,
Okay, so your testimony is you came in the door, correct? And he was standing in that spot.
as far as I believe.
Okay, and you got within 10 feet of him, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and you fear for your safety.
yes,
Okay, and you get your phone out and you take a picture of him. Is that correct?
yes,
And you stood within 10 feet of him with his, while he has his back to you for approximately 20 minutes. Is that correct?
he's moved all around at this time.
Is that correct?
No,
Okay, so he's moved around the room.
yes,
Okay, did he move closer to you?
yes,
Did he say anything to you?
no,
Was he looking at you?
yes,
So if you took a picture of this, why didn't you take a picture of any of the other conduct that happened? If you said he moved around the room and was looking at you, why didn't you take a picture of that?
I'm going to object. It's a negative question. It's a question without that calls for speculation.
Well, so you took a picture of him when he was 5 feet away from you, correct? And you were feeling threatened. You wanted to document that, presumably. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay, so, and now you're saying, now your testimony is stating he moved around and got closer to you. You didn't take any other pictures of that. Is that correct?
no,
Okay, so you heard your name mentioned between him or his friends. Do you know if it was him talking or his friends, or you just heard it in
Him.
general?
him specifically.
Okay, did you hear any of the content other than your name?
No,
No, I'm going to direct you to the next group of pictures, which I maybe exhibit 2 now, which would be, you see the ice rink there.
Hold on, pulling it. Exhibit 2.
I believe it's exhibit 2 now. I don't know if we went 2, 3, 4, if it's one set. Now, we'd been here in court before, correct? And I believe possibly even before I was involved there. At first, it was agreed upon that you had a section and Mr. Buffum had a section. Was that correct?
no. That was not,
Your seats are not in this section where this picture is taken. Is that correct?
that's correct, but that's where the auction was, sir.
Well, was it just that section where the auction was?
Yes, sir.
And was he there first, or were you there first this time?
That should have nothing to do with this.
Just please answer the question.
Answer the question.
Yes, he was there, but I'm a season ticket holder too. I should be able to go to an auction if I want to.
Was
And I
he
shouldn't have to change my life, Mr. Hanel, for him.
was he in his season ticket seats?
No,
He was not. Where are his ticket seats from there?
at least 20 feet.
Are they in that section?
No,
What section are they in?
where his father's standing in that photo.
So now I see now in the briefs provided by your counsel, and I think this was discussed later, that his section is 121 and yours is 114. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and we had discussed in a prior hearing that this might be able to work because you were in different sections and there's some kind of, it wasn't easy to go back and forth between the two of them. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
We had
Can you ask it in a different way?
okay. We had discussed, we were talking about whether Mr. Buffum should continue to be able to go to the Van Andel Arena. We decided because your sections are separated,
Mm-hmm.
that as long as there shouldn't be an issue if you were in separate sections, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I want to show you. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to show you a picture. I haven't done this on here, so be patient with me. You see this picture?
Yes, we do.
Okay, now who is that with the camera in your hand? In her hand, is that you?
That would be me.
Now, would this be the time and date that you were taking the picture of Mr. Buffin's father?
That was that was after the fact that Mr. Buffum's father started taking pictures of me and started this whole incident.
Okay, yes, this is the same time, right? Does this picture accurately reflect that moment from the other perspective of the camera?
Yes.
Okay, I move for admission of this as I think are we at 5 now or 6?
Yeah, or actually, why don't we do it just as Respondent's Exhibit A?
Thank you. And in this picture, what can you tell me what numbers there are right there behind you?
121.
Okay. And as we've indicated, that is Mr. Buffum season ticket section. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, are you no longer welcome at the Griffins games? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so how long what'd they tell you? How long are you banned for? Do you know?
I'm not going to answer that.
You need to answer. I'm sorry. Mr. Hanel, can you re-ask the question?
How long are you banned from the Griffins games or from Van Andel Arena? Is it both? Is it Van Andel or
It's
just the
not,
game?
it's not both, Mr. Hanel. That's where you're incorrect, and that's where your client's incorrect. I'm no longer going to the Grand Rapids Griffins games for the rest of this year.
One second here. Was there an incident where you stole or you took a T-shirt or something similar from a child?
No,
So if there were testimony here from someone that indicated that that's why you were kicked out of the Van Andel Arena, it would not be corroborated. Is that correct?
I'm going to object on relevance. Where does this go to whether there's contact between petitioner and respondent?
I think your email is trying to. I'm trying to feel. It seems to me the purpose of the email you provided was to indicate that he had something to do with her being kicked out of the Van Andel Arena.
I think
You're responding to mom's email. Okay.
our response would be we proffered the email for the purpose of contact, not for the purpose of showing that there was a T-shirt stolen or she was in or out of the arena.
Okay. And you're saying that's what that, well, I mean, really, I guess the main thing is that the email concerns Ms. Schuette rather than, if she was kicked out, why she was kicked out, et cetera. I'm struggling to see the relevance of the basis for her being kicked out unless it was somehow related to the interaction with the Buffum. So I'll sustain the objection as to the reason for her being kicked out. She has testified that she was ticket holders were suspended for the duration of this year.
Thank you. Okay, now I think I might have missed a little bit. What exactly did you testify was going on with this WhatsApp picture? This happened last Wednesday, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, did he talk to you on that app or?
Mr. Handel, do not, I'm trying to be polite here, but at the same time, Mr. Buffum's not supposed to be, and it was directed by Judge Rossi here that he's not supposed to be located on any, you guys have come to the conclusion that he's not supposed to be on Whatnot at all.
I'm not
Therefore,
worried about you being polite. I'm just asking you, did he speak with you on the app? That's the only question. I'm not trying to trying to be rude to you. I know it's hard to do this, but I just want an answer. Did he speak with you on the app or was there any contact between you and him on the app?
there was contact about me, not as of Wednesday, but a prior date, and the judge has pictures of that.
So
From
we're
Des-
talking about this picture right here that was just provided today as an
He was
example.
located in the same room as I was, and so I felt intimidated to not be able to even purchase cards for my own business because he was in there.
Was he talking in there or how do you know
He
it
was
was him?
speaking in there. If you take a look at the picture clearly states Buffum. How much for a box of Trilogy? Buffum. Thanks. Buffum. Again. Go Wings. This is Wednesday. This is 2 days before this hearing. And the seller was 314 Sports Cards.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any redirect, Mr. Van Heuvel?
Yes. Kaitlin, I'm gonna talk to you again.
Mhm.
So you need to be in the camera view for recording purposes. No problem. Can you hear me well?
I can.
Good. They brought up, I will say Respondent brought up, this, email again,
Mhm.
one from Laura Buffum. And the reason you're putting this forward is what?
Because it was contact on his behalf to ask again about what I was doing, where I was located, what things about me. And in the PPO, it says that he's not supposed to have contact with even through third party about where I'm located, where I'm at, and what I'm doing.
I'm gonna talk about that day on the 24th, February 24th.
Okay.
And we've all looked at exhibit number 1, or
Mhm.
number 2, sorry. The trilogy of pictures that have both Paul and Michael Buffum, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And on that date, there's an auction going on you testified to?
Yes.
Okay. And explain what happens. Start from, I moved from wherever to this auction.
Okay. So I started in 114. I had asked Rita Miller, which is the lady that sits behind me. I asked her if she was going to the auction. She said, of course she was. So I had moved from 114 over to 121 where the auction is located. I decided to sit up towards the top because that's normally where Rita sits. And I was also waiting on Travis Valdir for him to use the bathroom. He was out going to the bathroom, came back. By this time, Paul Buffum, can't say Mr. because we have two. Mr. Buffum has now turned around, taken plenty of pictures of me, went down, told Griff and staff that in fact his son is the one that has the PPO, which is false information.
And you're under that belief how?
Because I heard him very loud and clearly.
Okay. So the next picture in the series is
Michael going to sit down in the front row to go for the jersey auction.
all right. During this time, you didn't flag them down anyway,
No,
and you didn't have your phone out first.
no,
They showed a picture of their exhibit A, defendant's exhibit A, and you remember that picture.
I do clearly.
You with your phone out.
Yes, that's after the fact that his father was taking plenty of pictures of me.
So in other words, you didn't flag any contact.
No,
Okay. And what made you aware of that contact from them?
when I had gone and so I was sitting there, a Griffin staff member, after they had gone down the stairs to go speak to Mr. Bachelor, decided he then would come up. The Griffin staff member would come up and they would apologize to me and say that they understood what was going on from the whole situation. And in fact, they understood I had the PPO, not the other way around, that Mr.
Here to say,
She's just testifying to her understanding of how the contact occurred, Your Honor. We're not putting it for the truth of the matter asserted that Griffins believe one or the other parties has a PPO.
Okay, and I think I've got a grasp on that context at this point, so I'll overrule the objection. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Kaitlin, I want to go back to the 22nd.
Mhm.
And you've obviously, and I'm going to pull up, Petitioner's Exhibit 1. And, we're going to look at that again, Mr. Buffum, I believe, standing here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And under a men's restroom sign?
That's
All
correct.
right. So I've identified the exhibit clearly enough for you.
Mhm. Yes.
We've talked about who came or went. What was going on in that event?
I was there for, it's a Sledwing game
Okay.
for the Grand Rapids Griffins, who I was friends at the time with a few of the players.
Oh, so is it a charity event?
It was a charity event.
Okay. And you were there to bid or provide money to the charity?
I was there with my mother to watch the players play and do the Sledwing event.
Okay. And did you stay pretty static in that room?
I did.
Okay. And
To
what
the
was-
point I was not, and the only reason why I knew Mr. Buffum was there is I was currently speaking on the side with one of the players.
So away off to the side in the room.
Yeah, not too far from him.
You didn't walk up to Mr. Buffum's
No, I did not.
blue table, it looks like.
No, I did not.
Okay. Did he move around?
He moved even closer.
So were there other places to be?
There was plenty of other places to be. There was another room that Mr. Buffum could have gone in. He kind of gone right into where the ice area was, where they were going to play that Sledwing game. This room was large.
So there are other places in that room to be.
Yes.
You could stay more than 10 feet apart.
Yes.
Okay. And obviously you were to the side of the room.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I have nothing further from this witness.
Okay, I do have a couple questions, Ms. Schuette. First, as you did mention that you heard Mr. Buffum talking about you. When he talks about you, does he refer to you by Kaitlin or Ms. Schuette? How do you know it's you?
Kaitlin, he says my name.
Okay, all right. And you're not aware of any other Kaitlin that you mutually know that he might be talking about?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And then second, the 314 sports sales area on the Whatnot app, is that your business or is that another person's?
That's another seller that I was referred to by Bun, which is another seller on the app, and told me that he would possibly have some cards that would be beneficial for my business.
Okay. And do you trade in the trilogy cards too or just sport cards?
I trade in everything, Your Honor.
Okay, so just general cards in general. And when and I've never been on Whatnot, when another person enters the room, can they see everyone else who's in the room at the same time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so he would know by what's your handle on Whatnot?
It's Schuette _ Kaitlin.
Okay, so
So it's very clear that it's me, Your Honor, and
got it. It's not like you're Tinkerbell or something like that. So
No, Your
okay,
Honor.
got it. Got it. Okay, those are all of my questions. Any further cross-examination, Mr. Hanel? And any further redirect, Mr. Van den Heuvel?
Nothing further, Your Honor. I have a second witness.
Very good. Then Ms. Schuette may step down from the witness stand. You may call your next witness.
Schuette, if you'll stand over here.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Call Kathy Schuette to the witness stand.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Van Heuvel. And I do need to disclose, I know Ms. Schuette, as we used to be co-workers at the United States Attorney's Office. Ms. Schuette at the time, I believe, was working in the victim witness office there. At the time, I was an assistant U.S. attorney in the civil division. However, I think we might have been on the same floor of the 300 Ionia building from about 2002 to 2010. I wasn't aware that the same Mrs. Schuette involved in this case, and did have friendly conversations as co-workers, but it was quite a while ago. I believe that I can proceed without prejudice. However, I do feel anytime I know a person outside the context of a case, it's important for me to disclose that pursuant to the canons of judicial ethics. So, in the event that you think that that would be an unduly prejudicial, certainly I would invite, Mr. Hanel on behalf of Mr. Buffum to move to recuse me from the case and another judge be appointed. However, as we sit here today, I believe that I can both evaluate Ms. Schuette's testimony as a witness and further rule on this case without any bias or even the appearance of bias. So, however, I do feel that it's important to disclose the information. So, all that being said, do you wish to make that motion at this time, Mr. Hanel?
No, Your Honor, I'm okay with you remaining on the case.
Very good. And if after consultation with your client following, you feel a motion to recuse me is appropriate, of course, you can file that anytime. Ms. Schuette, I'll have you raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Van Heuvel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Kathy, do you mind if I refer to you as that?
That's great.
Okay. Because there's two obviously Schuettes in the room.
Yes.
We and I think we need to lay some ground for how you would you work in the legal field.
I do.
Okay. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a victim advocate for the Department of Justice, as Judge Rossi has said, for the United States Attorney's Office for 41 years.
Okay. So you've never had what I'll say a personal relationship, kicked back beers or gone to taverns with the judge?
No, sir. We just had office functions within the office where, and may I say, Judge Rossi was in the civil division and I was in the criminal division, correct, Judge Rossi? Or am I-
Yes, that is absolutely.
So we work in
Correct.
two different divisions.
Oh, okay. So it would be like, working, one floor, or even if you're on the same, but you're in different departments.
Correct. I never worked
Okay.
for Judge Rossi.
I just want to establish that for the record.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. I'm going to step back into, I don't know if you've had a chance to read these. I assume you have, because we've called you as a witness, but do you know anything about Kaitlin's motion and affidavit for a violation of this protection order?
Correct.
And you were present for the conduct?
I was correct.
Okay, so let's step on each day. Let's start with February 22. Do you
Okay.
remember that, Dave?
That was the Griff's Ice House.
Okay, and that was in 2024?
It was.
All right. And can you tell me about what happened?
Yes. Kaitlin and I arrived at Griff's Ice House. It was a charity event that we went. We paid our admission to get in. There were players giving autographs at the front. We walked in, and as soon as we walked in, right across the room was Michael Buffum standing across from us. Knowing about a PPO order, I thought that when he saw her, my personal feeling that he should have left, but he stood there, Your Honor. Started pointing at her, talking about her. We could hear him saying Kaitlin across the room. Did not leave the room, kept looking at her to the point of Kaitlin started to panic. And so we actually made the move to leave that room and go into another room where we couldn't be part of the event that was going on in the lobby. We had to move and wait for the next event, which was inside the ice arena, because we both felt uncomfortable.
Okay, and why do you have feelings of that uncomfortability?
Well, I can tell you I feel uncomfortable because as a victim advocate, I know he has violated PPO orders, this PPO order at least 8 times. I've been with her all these other times that he has violated, been within 6 to 8 feet of her, never leaves, stays exactly where she's at. And so again, this was just another example of him being within where she was at and wouldn't leave.
How big was this room?
It's not overly large. It's like in the lobby of the Griff's Ice House.
Okay, so, but big enough you could be on opposite sides.
We could have been on opposite sides of the room.
I'm gonna direct you to exhibit number 1. For
Correct.
Petitioner.
Yes,
See, you recognize this individual.
I do. That's Michael Buffum.
And what is he wearing?
Black pants, like warm-up pants, a black jacket, a Griffin's hat. He has glasses on and
All right, and he's under the. what-
men's restroom sign.
Okay, and, you know, it looks like he's leaning up against a table of some sort.
Correct.
Okay, and where were you at this time?
We were just on the other side of the room. We had just come into the room. He did turn around and look at us several times. And when he saw us getting our phones out to take a picture to show that he was in the same room of her, he turned his head, so I could not get a picture of him.
Okay, did he move around during that time?
He went over to the table where the autographs were and then moved back over by where she was. I mean, where he was originally.
Okay, so at any time, he could have been more than 10 feet away if he wanted to be.
Yes, he could have moved further apart or went in the other room where we ended up, again, having to change our lives and what we're doing to Mike Buffum, his behavior.
Okay. What was Caitlin's reaction? I'm thinking on this date, and I want to remind the court again, this is February of. Is it?
February 22nd of 2024.
Okay,
She started to tear up, said, "Mom, he's here. What am I going to do?" I told her that I was there with her, that he should not be in the same room. As we all know, he should have left. She started to have a panic attack. So that's why we left where we were at and went and sat inside the ice arena and just waited for the next event, because I actually don't know, after him trying to run her into the wall on the freeway and the other incidents that I've been with her, of the things he's done to her and said and done to her, that I'm not really sure what he's going to do to her.
okay, and what forms that belief you're not really sure? I mean, you weren't, let's establish what you were present for. Have you been
Yes.
present for any inappropriate words exchanged?
Yes. I have been at, it was a couple other instances where we were at Van Andel Arena. There was one where,
Actually, the relevance, Jenna, I think we need to keep this focused on the event at hand.
okay,
We're trying to establish, Your Honor, the pattern of conduct or behavior here that establishes the inappropriateness of the conduct on the 22nd. Again, it matters if we have 2 show causes out on the 22nd and the 24th, and we're looking to establish basically, is there a pattern of conduct? If there is, why is there fear for this conduct? And I think that's highly relevant.
Okay, I would agree that there is some relevance as long as the dates are reasonably, close to either the starting of this protective order or the events leading up to the alleged violations. I'll overrule the objection. You may proceed.
Your Honor. So Kathy, I'm going to redirect you. Do you remember the dates that some of the things happened? Can you kind of walk me through that?
yes, I can actually.
Okay, go ahead.
On November 18th of this year, we were at a Grand Rapids Gold basketball game. Mr. Buffum was there. He came up and stood right behind Kaitlin, probably within 3 to 5 feet of her, did not leave. November 15th of 2023, we were in the Griffin store at the Van Andel Arena. Michael Buffum came in there. Kaitlin and I were already in there. He was in there with his mother to exchange some tickets. That's what everybody was in there for. He was within 3 to 5 feet of her then, Your Honor, did not move, stood there by her. There was another incident on November 26th of 2023. We were at a season ticket holder event after the game. Mr. Buffum was there with one of his friends. They did not come near us at first, but we walked to the top of the arena to pick up one of Caitlin's friends that needs help to the car. He was then within 3 feet of her. I heard him saying to his friend Kaitlin, he kept saying Kaitlin, Kaitlin to his friend Charles. He was talking about her then, did not move. After the hearing on December 15th, he was across the ice, staring across from her, gesturing at her and taking pictures of her. December 31st, 2023, I was with her at a Griffin's hockey game, the New Year's Eve game. He was standing across the ice, then had all of his friends take pictures of her from across the ice, gesturing at her and laughing. Then we had the Griffin's Ice House event. Then we had I was not there for this auction, but Your Honor, with this auction, they move everybody in the arena into the same section for this auction. So when she wants to attend this auction, she has no choice but to distance herself from him. And that's why they were in the same section for this auction.
So you've been part of auctions in the past.
Oh, yes, I've been to auctions with her in the past.
So you know how they narrow the section.
Yes, they narrow the section all to one. So if Kaitlin wants to go and bid on anything, she has to be in the same section. So I've told her, please distance yourself from him, even though he should be leaving because he shouldn't be that close to you, but he chooses not to leave, Your Honor. He stands within close to her.
So you've been present on a lot of.
This conduct is out of hand, Your Honor.
It's been, so the 22nd is just a long pattern of the consistent behavior.
Yes, sir, Mr. Van Hubel. Long pattern of and then after Judge Rossi, I remember you telling him not to be in whatnot or not. And Kaitlin brings me emails all the time when he's in whatnot after you've asked him not to be in whatnot.
In your understanding of the conduct here, now you had a email, and I'm going to bring that up.
Correct,
That is petitioner's exhibit number 3.
correct.
Have you seen this email?
I have seen this email. It was sent to me by the Griffins organization.
And how did you come about this?
Matt Bachelor emailed this to me because he wanted to let me know that Michael Buffum's mother was asking about Kaitlin.
Okay, so this is yet another contact.
Correct.
Right? All right. And I'm going to ask you, do you believe that this contact has ever quit based on your observations?
No. It has never stopped, Your Honor, since you first signed this order. It has never stopped. And I guess unless you send him a clear message, it never will stop.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all the testimony I have.
Very well. Cross-examination, Mr. Hanel.
Yes. So your testimony is, you hear Kaitlin, which I think seems to be the same as what her indication was. That's what keeps being overheard coming out of his mouth. Correct?
Yes,
And your testimony is also that this email that she was asking him, his mother was asking about Kaitlin, correct?
correct.
Now, logically, wouldn't it make sense for him to be worried about whether she's going to be someplace so he doesn't have to be there, so he can prepare himself?
No,
So him asking if wouldn't he be better be able to avoid her if he were to ask if she's going to be at Van Andel or not?
no, because even when she is places, Mr. Handel, that she's at, he refuses to leave. So that doesn't make sense that he's checking ahead of time, because if so, he would leave when he saw her, according to the PPO.
Now, no further questions, Your Honor.
Very good. Any redirect, Mr. Van Hubel?
I have none, Your Honor.
Very good. Then thank you, Ms. Schuette. You may step down from
Thank
the
you, Your
witness stand. Any additional witnesses or evidence to present, Mr. Van Hubel?
None, Your Honor. We rest at this time.
Very good. Mr. Hanel, do you have any witnesses or evidence to present? You're muted, Mr. Hanel. You're going to have to unmute.
Sorry, Your Honor. Yeah, I will call Mr. Buffum.
Very good. Mr. Buffum, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. You may proceed, Mr. Hanel.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna ask you questions. Okay, so I'm gonna refer you to, I believe it's Exhibit 1, where I believe this is an auction. You're standing in front. There's a men's sign in the back.
Yeah, the Sled Wings event on the 22nd of February.
Okay, now, it was a sled ring event. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the Sled Wings. It's kids that have disabled play the Griffins. They raise money. The players sign autographs, and then they play hockey on sleds for disabled kids to raise money.
Okay, so when you first got there, you didn't see Ms. Schuette there at all. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you have any reason to think she was going to be there? Like, did anybody indicate that she was going to be there to you?
No, I just went on me going there and me being a supporter and stuff like that.
Okay, and what happened when she arrived?
When she arrived to the arena or to the event, I was talking with the equipment manager, and he said Kaitlin showed up, and then I did not approach her, did not leave the spot where the photo shows, and she was at the door, took a photo of me. So the right thing I did was that was the only exit out of there. Waited till they went inside and then left minutes after that.
Okay, so they were between you and the door, is that correct? Okay, so and you left after they got out of the way.
After they went inside the arena
How long do you think that might have taken?
within 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay. Now let me refer you to the second violation here. This would be the picture that's in section 121 that was testified about. Were you there first that day?
Yes, that is my season ticket section.
Okay, and it was your understanding of the court order that was where you're supposed to be, right? If something was going on there.
Correct.
Okay, and were there other areas to be for that?
Correct. As she was told, and I was told by Matt Bachelor, Griffin's staff members, that the next section over 120 is open for seating also during this auction time.
Okay, so you were in 121 before her, correct?
Mhm.
And she came to that section, correct?
Correct.
And she could have chosen the other section?
Correct. That section 120 was open.
Okay, now, there's been a lot of testimony, I think, in both of these incidences that her name is being said. Like, is that correct?
I have no talking since this all came down. I have not talked with people about it. I'm just there to be a spectator and a fan and enjoy the game.
Now, would it be fair to say you're very concerned if she's going to show up, though? Is that correct?
Right. I'm not trying to break what you've said, Judge, and I followed through.
That's correct. 1 second, I just got to plug in my computer here so it doesn't go dead on us. Sorry, did we cut out there, Your Honor?
Nope, you stayed on successfully, Mr. Hanel. You may proceed.
Okay, so it'd be fair to say you're very concerned about whether she shows up somewhere or not.
Right.
And you've been directed to video or to photograph times there might be instances so that something doesn't happen and you'd be able to prove you're
Covering my own back.
Okay, so you're not doing it to threaten or intimidate her, is that
No.
correct? Okay. Did you direct that email to talk about her?
No, I referenced it for my own safety.
Okay. 1 second here. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Very good. Cross-examination, Mr. Van Heuvel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Buffum, have you read the PPO order in this file?
Yes.
I'm going to take a minute here to share that to you. Can you see what I see here? The PPO order?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. And it has the judge's signature, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And down here it says it is ordered, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm just going to ask, do you agree that it says do not to follow or appear within the sight of the petitioner? Is that correct? Mr. Buffum, is that correct?
Yes.
And it also says approaching or confronting the petitioner in a public place or on private property. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you agree that being within 10 feet of somebody is approaching?
I'm not the one approaching, she's approaching me.
Okay, let me rephrase. Is there an order that petitioner in this file, Kaitlin E. Schuette, is she ordered here to not approach?
I have not approached her. I have left when she has come.
And is there an order about who comes first? The answer?
No,
Do you agree? Let me phrase it this way. I'm going to rephrase that question. On February 22 of 24, you testified you were at the Sled Wings Griff's Ice House. Is that correct?
yes,
And on that date, would you agree? Isn't it correct that you were within 10 feet of the petitioner in this case?
no,
You were not in 10 feet.
no, we were further away.
How far?
One side of the room to the other, as the photo shows. She was at the entrance and I was by the men's bathroom.
On February 2 of 24, were you working for this organization, Griff's Ice House?
No,
So you had no other requirement to be there, correct, sir?
just as a spectator and a local fan.
That's not what I asked. You had no other requirement to be there, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to direct you to the date of February 24 of 2024. On that date, were you in the arena for a Griffin's hockey game?
Correct.
And you were sitting in section 121, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you sitting next to your father when he was taking pictures of the petitioner?
No, I was not.
So I would direct you to Exhibit 2, the set of pictures, the second one of Exhibit 2. That's not you. The second and third pictures, they aren't you, right?
Hold on a second.
Yes or no, Mr. Buffum? Were those you?
Can you show the photos? We're not, he's having a hard time pulling them up.
Steve, do you have a copy?
I do. Just give me a second. We've got a lot of papers out here on my desk.
Let me know when you're ready.
Are you referring to the page where the ice is in the background, or the exhibit
Correct.
where the ice?
Yes. There should be a set of pictures there. Do you have them?
Yeah, yes, they're in front of me.
Okay. So though, just to be clear for the record, that is you.
2 and 3, correct.
Do you have any business purpose being at the arena? Are you hired at the arena?
You repeat the
Can you
question.
repeat the question, please?
Are you an employee of the arena?
No,
Okay, you are free. Isn't it correct that you are free to leave at any time?
Correct.
I'm going to direct you to petitioner's exhibit, I believe, number 4. It's the what it is the online sports postcard exhibit. Do you have a copy of that?
Yes. Yes.
And the user BUFFUM is you, correct? I didn't hear that.
Correct.
Okay. And when you drop into these rooms, isn't it correct that you can see the users there?
Yes.
Okay. Are you an employee of this sports betting or sports buying website?
No.
Are you required to be there for any reason?
I can buy cards.
That's not what I'm asking. Are you required to be there for any reason? And you're free to leave at any time, correct?
Yes.
Did you write several messages on 5/15/24 in 314 sports cards on that platform inside
Yes.
that sales? Is that a yes?
Yeah.
On that day, was Kaitlin Schuette in that sports room?
I don't know if she could be under a different person's name. So I did not see her in that.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Very good. Any redirect questions, Mr. Hanel?
No, Your Honor.
I do have a couple questions, Mr. Buffum. Remind me, are your season tickets at the Van Andel Arena for the Griffins, are they in 121 or 122?
121.
Okay. And so your testimony today is those photos of you seated at the arena, you're sitting in your season seats, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So in other words, you don't move between the end of the game and the start of the auction because the auction just happens to be in front of the section that you're already a holder of tickets for.
Correct. And that's not the only section that you can sit in. You can sit in 120 is open for seating also.
Okay, so you could, and you could, for that matter, you could move to 120 or 122, but you'd have to get out of your own season seats and move to those. Okay, all right. And regarding the sports card site, do you have a business yourself trading sports cards and buying and selling them, or is it a hobby for you? What's your affiliation?
I do it for the hobby. I work for the Whitecaps also, so I give back to people and buy cards for them, help them out. I do not sell, just for own hobby.
Okay, for personal reasons, in other words. Okay, and does your family have tickets along with you to the Griffins?
Yes, we have 3 seats. Yes,
Okay, so and that would be your mom and dad next to you?
correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Those are the total of my questions. I'll give you another chance, Mr. Hanel
No further questions, Your Honor.
and Mr. Van Heuvel.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Well then, Mr. Buffum, you may step down from the witness stand. Any other witnesses or evidence to present at this time, Mr. Hanel?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then I believe, having both sides rested, we're to the time for a brief closing statement. Obviously, I've heard all the testimony today, and I'm quite familiar with the case. Mr. Van Heuvel.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think the testimony today, Your Honor, demonstrated between Kaitlin Schuette and Kathy Schuette that there is quite a pattern here of conduct and contact. It seems to be that there's this idea that just because you're a season holder or you like a hobby that you may be within the violating order range, and within eyesight or contact of Miss Schuette. It's also, there's a misunderstanding, I think, in this trial by the respondent that somehow just because she comes to an event or something, he is somehow absolved of his duty to follow this court's order. And I think that's critical that he be, admonished on that. He is to follow the order whether or not he feels it's fair, and it's against him. It's not against Ms. Schuette, Kaitlin, in this matter. We heard Kathy Schuette's testimony extensively about the contact that it led to these two incidences, and that it was a consistent and continued pattern of conduct and contact. And a lot of these incidents she listed, it sounded like there was ways to avoid the contact, and they just simply don't. The respondent doesn't care. It was what it appears from the amount of contact that's happened here. When we heard from Kaitlin, we heard that she is objectionably fearful, that she has physical reactions, that this is inappropriate conduct, and that it needs to stop, and that it doesn't just happen in these two events, but it continues on, and including in sports buying areas that she does as a business. And it happens in emails individually to the arena individuals trying to figure out her status and where she's at and what she's doing, which I think is highly inappropriate. Whether or not you want to know or not, it's simply inappropriate to find out, even through a third party that's still directed contact. And so we come to the day of 2/24, and on that day in February, again, the petitioner is up at the top of the arena, not down by the respondent. Respondent's father turns around and starts to take pictures and ask for people to interdict with my client, who then does get contacted. So it's not
I
as
have
if
to hold Mr. Buffum responsible for the actions of his father. I mean, certainly, I guess it would be normal to share with your parents, hey, there's a situation going on, and to some extent to have what I'm going to refer to as a circling of the wagons. The two families here logically would probably support their own kids. Is there a chance that Mr. Buffum's father whirls around and does this, whether Mr. Buffum wants him to or not?
after enough of these violation hearings, it should be clear that he is not to have direct contact. This is after, remember, this hearing is happening after we've already had one admitted to violation. So this is not a surprise anymore. This is a known factor that we don't have contact. And so if there's continued contact, you can only assume one thing, and that's that Mr. Buffum is not removing himself from the situation, or he's allowing these third parties to act on his behalf. If there's already been a violation, you know the rule. And
he does certainly, but I do note the photos do show, at least it looks to me like Mr. Buffum himself is doing what I would expect. He's looking away and sitting in his seat. Dad, obviously, if Mr. Buffum jumped up and took some photos like he did, it would be a lot clearer than his dad. And I haven't seen his dad at these hearings. I'm making the assumption, of course, that dad knows what's going on, but I also know from my own relationships with my own parents that parents are going to do what parents are going to do. I don't always, we don't always have control or a say over what our parents do, even when it might involve us. So I'm looking for a little more connection there, I guess.
And then, and that's why we put in the connection. That is why Kathy testified to the other events that were objected to and it was overruled regarding the consistent pattern that led up to this. She testified very specifically about meeting Mr. Buffum, having him within very short distances, and that he was not moving away. What connects to this event is that when you have this consistent pattern, you may be looking away at this time, but you've had consistent and constant contact. And so at this point, it's no longer an accident. Kathy testified for the 22nd of February that he had turned away. That's when they got the picture, but that he had been facing them. I mean, he just didn't get it on the camera because, of course, they're not chasing him, every minute. Obviously, that's not the intent of a PPO either. And so, that's why it's that context of both before, and then we talk about these emails, which is Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 4 online. We're talking about a consistent pattern. That's why it's established, is because these events are really established by the long-standing pattern that has occurred here. And we would move that he be found in contempt for these, because it is clear he knows, and he's not going to stay away. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hanel.
Well, Your Honor, first of all, I'd like to object to the use of prior conduct to prove current conduct, and I do believe you could use it to establish knowledge of the PPO. I think that's fair. But the fact that something happened before does not mean this happened now. In these situations, the testimony was she went straight up to him, and I understand the argument that she's the victim and he needs to deal with this. But we have been here before, and we were trying to work it out where they could both be at Van Andel. And, we were all pretty unsure if this was going to work out. We were at the point where she was in her section, he was in his section. That was hopefully going to solve the problem. We're not there yet. But the testimony is he's never said anything to her. He never knew she was going to be in a specific spot. She would enter after he was there each time. And despite her tremendous fear for him, gets within 10 feet of him and puts a camera in his face. And the argument is fair that, yes, this PPO is against him, but it turns out she was between him and the door. You see him there, and she said he just stood in that position. That is the position of somebody that's frozen and does not know what to do. And the fact that she hears her name, there was a testimony
You're referring to the photo at the at the Griff's Ice House under the restroom there?
Yes, correct, Your Honor. And the testimony was that he just stood in that position. And if she's between him and the door, what is he supposed to do? He's scared that he's going to have to get close to her, approach her. Testimony was that he waited till they walked out and then he left that area. I think he left the entire thing, actually, at that point was the testimony. But now the fact that she hears her name, there was no testimony about additional things that were being said. It makes sense logically that if you're scared about getting in trouble for a PPO, you're constantly on alert that she might be there. You're going to be like, Kaitlin's here. That is an issue, and it makes sense that this is a valid concern and a healthy one. It's not that he's slandering her or trying to make anything hard for her, but when you're talking about, is she here? Where is she? How can I avoid her? Her name needs to be said. And that's as good of an explanation as anything they provided in this case.
What about the missing part? Kaitlin's here. I got to go in the other room.
What's that?
What about the missing part where he says, Kaitlin's here. I got to go in the other room?
Said that?
Who are you talking about at the?
Yeah, at the Griff's Ice House thing where you're so close.
When she was by the door and I waited till she went into the main, and that's when I left.
Basically, this, I get this sounds like a nightmare for both of them. We tried to work this out. Ironically, she's not welcome at the Griffins events anymore. So maybe that issue is actually resolved in a way that I think we all didn't expect. We thought
the baseball season's coming right up, Mr. Hanel, so we've got to keep paying attention to the matter.
Well, hopefully we don't. Hopefully this will be over then. But it's possible she may not be allowed there either. I'm not sure about that. We didn't have any testimony about that. But either way, I don't think these are egregious violations. I think, and I can tell you for certain, my advice to my clients in these PPO situations, if you're at someplace and all of a sudden they're there, get your camera out, because we do not know what the testimony is going to be, but we want truthful testimony. And cameras have a way of catching what actually happens. That's not always the case, but in this case, I'm sure that's what the father was doing. Hey, she's here. And thank God he took that picture, because her picture made it look like she was just right by him. But when you turn around and you see the 121, you realize she's exactly where we agreed that he should be. And she comes to him, and it's not him trying to make a mess out of this. I clearly think there's fault on both of them. And unfortunately, he, for my client, he is the subject of this PPO. But we're here again saying, maybe the issue might be resolved now that she's not going to the Griffiths games, because as far as I can tell, that's where everything happened, except possibly online here. But I don't think we're actually dealing with that today. But it seems like the Griffiths thing is over. I don't think there's much left to do on this. And I really don't think there's an intentional violation here. And I think all the conduct is more nervousness about him trying to follow the court's order.
Okay. Well, I have heard the testimony and reviewed the evidence as they have come out today and previously in this case. And of note, I have found a previous violation that I haven't sentenced on yet. With regard to the two violations that are before the court today, I am going to find that the event that occurred at the Griff's Ice House was a violation. Mr. Buffum clearly was very near to Miss Schuette and her mother. And, and the idea that, they were between him and the door, he couldn't run out. Well, the photo and the things captured there, they don't look to me like necessarily someone frozen by fear, but rather someone, granted, who doesn't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon. And I couple that with certainly when you're that close to someone, even though, the Schuettes very honestly acknowledged they came in second, they overhear Kaitlin's name being at least thrown out there by Mr. Buffum, whose voice they obviously recognize, given the length and the contact that's been engaged in this case. And certainly that would be explainable if Mr. Buffum was saying to the people around him, Kaitlin's here, I got to go. And then he exited, moved to the other side of the room, moved as far away as possible. Did something in response to the fact that he's in jeopardy because of this order, but none of that happened. He stood there and ultimately, Kaitlin and her mother, decided to exit the situation themselves. Now, obviously, they could have gone into the other room and watched the game. There were two rooms involved here, but it appears that both, wanted to be in the proximity of whatever was happening in kind of what I'm going to refer to as the foyer here with the men's room at Griff's Ice House. And, again, the onus would have been on Mr. Buffum in that case to get up and relocate himself to a different portion of Griff's Ice House in response to Ms. Schuette's presence. Now, the second incident there at the Van Andel Arena is a little bit different. And the difference is that Mr. Buffum, as he testified today, was in his season ticket seats. After the season ticket seats, he elected to stay focused, as it were, on what was happening at the arena. Now, certainly he's sitting beside his parents, and his parents may or may not, certainly I would hope they would know about the events going on between him and Miss Schuette, so they can help keep their son out of trouble. And Dad clearly stood up and filmed Miss Schuette, but I didn't see any evidence today that was occurring at the behest necessarily of Mr. Buffum, and certainly might be explicable as the reaction of a father saying, well, of course, not a lawyer trying to figure out what's going on here. I'm going to show that Miss Schuette's the one who came closer than she should have rather than my kid. And I don't see any evidence other than that Mr. Buffum's attention was focused on anything other than the ice arena, the auction or whatever was occurring down on the ice. Likewise, the final violation that was just testified to, that one that allegedly occurred on the Whatnot website. Now, I do clearly remember the website, and I remember my warning that probably the safest course of action is simply to stay off of Whatnot. And in no uncertain terms, obviously, it would violate Michigan's cyberstalking law if Mr. Buffum did communicate directly with Ms. Schuette, or for that matter, through another person, and in one of these rooms said to the seller, hey, I see Schuette's here and I don't like her, or anything like that. That would be an electronic communication that was clearly designed in reality to go to Ms. Schuette. However, I can't say that's true. The interaction I observed there, it looks to me, they are both in the same room. However, Mr. Buffum's doing not even bidding against Ms. Schuette. I think that would be ill-advised as well, because it could be construed as vindictive or confrontational, but rather is just simply asking about an item that's up for bid that they at least Mr. Buffum has an interest in these trading cards and knows that Miss Schuette has a business, but this isn't her business. And obviously, again, if he were to go into her store and, bid or bad talk her store or something like that, that would violate the order. But I can't say that going into someone else's sales area on that same website and simply seeing perhaps, and I know from personal experience, I don't always check when I go to, of course, I'm not involved in sports card bidding, but I do look on Facebook Marketplace for various good deals on types of sporting goods and things of that nature. And I don't even know that I could see who's in the room and who's talking on those sites. And so I am, given the lack of intentional communication directed at Ms. Schuette, hesitant to find that would be a violation. However, I have found the prior violation and a violation today. However, I'm somewhat encouraged by the fact that, it looks like since February, it's been limited to this single instance of them both being in the same electronic room. I think that, again, that doesn't rise and without more to the level of violation. I could see ways that it could, but it doesn't appear to have developed to that point. It just seems like they were certainly in the same room, and I'm very hesitant to completely ban Mr. Buffum from the website because, and doing certainly limits his freedom and also limits the sellers on there. It appears that Mr. Buffum is at least engaged in buying. Obviously, he should not and is prohibited by the order from any direct contact with Miss Schuette through that. So, given this, and I've said that all of these contexts do arise in the context of amateur sports and this card trading platform, not amateur sports. These are professional sports in the Grand Rapids and I believe also in the Lansing area where these events arose. And it's very clear to me that, both individuals here are, devoted fans of their respective sports teams, and again, tried to craft solutions here that allowed them to live that part of their lives, but not interfere improperly with the other person's rights. And finally, in consideration and coming to a sentencing portion of this, I also take into consideration this did start with a very frightening incident that would make Ms. Schuette, the incident particularly, I'm thinking here, the driving incident, fearful for her life, fearful for life and limb. And after that first traumatic event occurs, of course, the way that trauma works, you don't have to have every time be a life-threatening incident in order to feel that same fear again. Sometimes just being in the presence of the same person will bring up that fear. And that's precisely why we do institute these and their personal protective orders. In the criminal context, we call them no contact orders. And they do mean exactly that there is no contact when it's avoidable. And I do put these in place with kids that go to the same school at times and neighbors who live directly next to each other. And sometimes the practicalities of life make compliance very challenging. However, it is always incumbent upon the respondent to acknowledge the protective order and to obey the terms of the protective order. And Mr. Buffum has, at least on 2 occasions, violated this order. And as I think I explained earlier, I see 2 scenarios. I see one where, the person says, I'm never going to, no way, have any contact with that person again. And they scrupulously follow it. And then there are other occasions where people say, well, I'm going to treat this like a competition or a game or a feud and see how much I can get away with. And I do sense that on some occasions that's been happening here. Now, on the same token, the person that's protected, another judicial holding about protective orders is that they are a shield against the other person. They're not a sword that can't be used offensively to corral the other person or to put yourself into the other person's life so that the other person, is forced to, respond defensively because you have the protective order. It's in their interest to do so. And when there's accidental or inadvertent or unexpected contact comes up, it is still incumbent on Mr. Buffum to respond to that. So in light of those two violations that I found, the sentence of the court today will be that Mr. Buffum pay a $500 fine. I will send you the instructions to pay that, and I also have you fingerprinted if I haven't already had you fingerprinted down at the Kent County Sheriff's Department. I encourage people, when you go down, you get to go to the friendly side of the Sheriff's Department, not the intake at the jail side when you get fingerprinted. But take a look around and think long and hard about whether that's the kind of place you'd want to spend 30 days or 60 days or 90 days because of, wanting to play games with a protective order like the one here. Because, I am a strong believer in increasing sanctions in order to change behavior. And that's exactly what the contempt of court statute is designed to do, is to, give the court teeth in changing behavior. And the behavior I want to see here is obviously scrupulous adherence to the protective order as it's in place and remains in place. I believe I saw until December, at least of this year, at which time we would revisit it for an extension. So at this time, I'm going to impose a $500 fine. I'm also aware that out there and unruled upon by me is Miss Schuette's motion for attorney fees. I am currently researching that, and I will rule on that in the near future here, but I haven't come to a final decision yet on the matter of attorney fees, and I would have to conduct another hearing, an evidentiary hearing, to determine the reasonableness of those fees in the event that I find that they are awardable in a case like this. So I'm still under advisement on any attorney's fees. The $500 fine is payable according to my order, and I believe that goes, of all places in Kent County, to the library board, which benefits from it. So anything else we need to place on the record at this time, Mr. Van den Heuvel?
No, Your Honor, only that you will be drafting the order.
Yes, that's correct. Mr. Hanel.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you for your time today.
Very well. I will issue the order, and of course, Mr. Buffum, you should continue as I said, scrupulously observe, and insofar that your parents, whether they're taking your side or whatever their attitude is, tell them, boy, if they're pushing the envelope on here, they're not doing you any favors, because they won't be the ones sitting in the Kent County jail in the event that I find that the violation, is tied to you, but it'll be you doing the time. So, the best advice to them is, even though I know they want to protect you and, be taking photos and stuff like that, I don't think Mr. Hanel's advice is terrible, but I think I would modify it to say, take a video of yourself, what you're doing and where you're sitting at that time, rather than, focusing on the other person. Because, like I say, these orders are in place to protect the protected individual, and I don't evaluate their actions. What I'm going to evaluate are your actions. So if your dad wants to film that you're sitting in your seat with eyes straight forward throughout the thing, well, that'd be totally appropriate. But I do look askance when the videoing is, and you're in jeopardy, frankly, if the videoing is going on and it's focused at Ms. Schuette, and understandably, might make her feel uncomfortable, as just about anyone would if they thought that, they're being filmed and it shouldn't be happening. So with those cautionary notes, I appreciate both parties' appearance and respectfulness during the proceeding today, and everyone's willingness to engage in a legal process, even though I know it's more drawn out and time consuming than anyone would rather do. It's still much preferable to, us, the families engaging in a Hatfield and McCoy type feud where someone winds up physically hurt. I'm grateful that you've both been willing to utilize the legal process. So with that, we're concluded.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Hanel, I will mail out the order for fingerprints.
I think he was fingerprinted already, unless we need another one on a different file.
I think he would need to be again for these violations, right, Judge?
Okay.
Each violation. So it probably won't be until Monday or next week. So don't expect to have to go until at least a week from tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, thanks.